Yo, what's good, Commanders Nation? If you thought February was the all-season dead zone, you're dead wrong. While other teams are chilling on vacation, soaking up the sun, and forgetting football exists, Adam Peters and the crew are in full grind mode. And the news coming out is juicy. Today we've got 3 stories that are going to shape what this roster looks like in 2026. And trust me, there's a whole mix of emotions in this one. We're talking about positions we need to upgrade. Vets who are probably on their way out, college reunions that Jaden Daniels is trying to make happen, and a throwback reminder of when this team was straight up dominant. And look, I know after how the 2025 season ended, we're all feeling a little bruised, a little frustrated. But this offseason is the perfect chance to reset, reload, and come back stronger. So get comfy, grab your coffee, or whatever you're sipping on, because this one's going to be fire and we're covering everything. Man, this one hurts. Not gonna lie. Zach Ertz has been a straight-up soldier for us since he got here. 2 seasons, 116 catches, 1,158 yards, 11 touchdowns. Dude came in as a vet and became one of Jaden Daniels' most reliable targets. When we needed a third down conversion, when we needed someone to find the soft spot in zone coverage, Ertz was that guy. He brought leadership, experience, and clutch plays when we needed them most. But here's the truth nobody wants to hear. After tearing his ACL, and with Adam Peters publicly saying he wants a younger, faster roster, the chances of Ertz coming back are basically zero. And look, I get it from the front office perspective. Ertz is 35. He's coming off a serious injury that usually takes 9 to 12 months for a full recovery. And while his production was solid, we can't build the future around a tight end who might not even be 100% until midseason, if he even gets there. Peters ain't playing, fam. He's got a clear vision, speed, explosiveness, athleticism, and a group that can grow with Jaden over the next 5, 6, 7 years. Ertz doesn't fit that plan, and as much as it sucks to say, it's the right move for the future of this franchise. Sometimes in football, you gotta make the tough calls, and this is one of them. Now the real question is, who do we bring in? Because Ben Sinnott and John Bates are solid depth guys, good for special teams and blocking situations, but neither of them is a legit receiving threat who can replace what Ertz brought to the passing game. Sinnott showed flashes last season, but he's still raw and inconsistent. Bates is more of a blocker than a pass catcher. We need someone who can be a real weapon in the passing game, someone who can attack the seams, create mismatches against linebackers and safeties. And here's where it gets interesting, because the tight end free agent market this year is stacked. This ain't like past years where there's 2 or 3 names and that's it. This year, we've got options, bro. Young talent, proven vets, high upside, solid floors. It's the kind of free agent class that lets you be picky and find exactly what you need. Let's talk Kyle Pitts first. Bro, Pitts is 25. 25. Let that sink in. A 25-year-old tight end with 4 years of NFL experience. Coming off his best season yet almost 1,000 receiving yards, 88 catches, 5 touchdowns. Dude is a straight-up mismatch nightmare. He's 6'6", 245 pounds, runs like a wideout, has all-pro hands, and can line up literally anywhere on the field. You can put him in line as a traditional tight end. You can flex him into the slot as a big receiver. You can line him up outside as an X if you need to. Defenses don't know how to cover him. He's too big for corners, too fast for linebackers, too athletic for safeties. That's the kind of player that changes game plans. That's the kind of player defensive coordinators have to spend entire meetings trying to figure out how to stop Dot, and the best part, Atlanta's got a brand new regime. Raheem Morris is trying to put his stamp on that roster, and there are real questions about whether they're going to pay Pitts the massive contract he's going to ask for. Because let's be real, Pitts is going to want somewhere between $15 to $18 million per year, and Atlanta's got other needs. They need help on the O-line, help in the secondary, help on the edge. Are they really going to drop all that money on a tight end when they've got holes everywhere? We've got cap space. A lot of cap space. Depending on cuts and restructures, we could be looking at $60 to $70 million available. If Adam Peters wants to make a statement this offseason, if he wants to send a message to Jaden Daniels that we're all in on building around him, signing Kyle Pitts would be the perfect move. Picture this: Terry McLaurin on the outside, Jahan Dotson, if he stays in the slot, and Kyle Pitts as a movable chess piece attacking the middle of the field, creating matchup nightmares for every linebacker and safety in the league, being a legit red zone threat. Bro, that's an offense that scares people. That's an offense that can drop 30-plus points a game. That's an offense that keeps defensive coordinators up at night. And think about what that does for Jaden. He gets a reliable safety valve, a big target who can win contested catches, versatility in the passing game that lets him attack defenses in multiple ways. That's exactly what you need to develop a young quarterback: weapons, options, versatility. But hold up, because Pitts isn't the only option. Isaiah Likely from the Ravens is also out there. And bro, this name isn't getting enough buzz. Likely is also 25, and while his 2025 numbers weren't eye-popping, 27 catches, 307 yards, that's because he got hurt early in the season and missed time, and by the time he came back, Mark Andrews had already locked down the Tay 1 role in Baltimore. But the talent is there, fam. Likely is explosive, has great hands, can stretch the field vertically, has Aiyuk ability, and most importantly, he's young and still in his athletic prime. He ran a 4.83 40 at his pro day, which is crazy fast for a 6'4", 245-pound tight end. That kind of speed with that size causes real problems for defenses. What I love about Likely is his ceiling. He's never really had the chance to be the guy. In Baltimore, he was always behind Andrews, who's a future Hall of Famer. Likely never got the volume of targets he needed to truly show what he can do. But if you give him the opportunity, the targets, the green light to be the primary tight end in an offense, I think he could explode. And with Jaden Daniels as his quarterback, bro, the possibilities are endless. Jaden's got the arm to fit balls into tight windows. He's got the vision to find tight ends work in the middle of the field. He's got the mobility to extend plays and give his tight ends time to get open downfield. Likely in this offense could be special. Plus, from a financial standpoint, Likely is going to be cheaper than Pitts. We're probably talking $8 to $10 million per year versus the $15 to $18 Pitts is asking for. That gives us more flexibility to address other needs in free agency and the draft. We could sign Likely, still have money to bring in an edge rusher or a corner, and build a more balanced roster. Baltimore chose to stick with Andrews, which means Likely is probably hitting the market looking for a place where he can be the TE1. We can offer that. We can offer opportunity, targets, and a young quarterback on the rise. That's attractive for a player like Likely, who wants to prove he can be elite. And then there's Dallas Goedert. Now, Goedert's a different type of player than Pitts or Likely. He's not as young, just turned 31, but the dude is reliable, and in football, reliability is gold. 60 catches, 591 yards, 11 touchdowns in 2025. Those 11 touchdowns were a career high, which tells you that even at 31, Goedert is still producing at a high level. Goedert's been a consistent producer in Philly for years. He's played in big games. He's played in playoff atmospheres. He knows what it takes to compete in the NFC East, one of the most physical and competitive divisions in the league. He's seen the defenses in Dallas, New York, and ours, too. He gets the division, the rivalries, the grind. And here's the wild part: Goedert would literally be replacing Ertz again. Ertz left Philly, came to Washington, had success here, and now Goedert could do the same. It's almost poetic. Bro, like there's a pipeline of Eagles tight ends coming to Washington and extending their careers. And honestly, if it works, why not? From Jaden's perspective, Having a veteran tight end who knows how to read the fences, find soft spots in zone, adjust routes based on coverage, that's real value. That's the kind of football IQ you can't teach in practice. That comes from years of reps, years of film study, years of experience. Goddard's also a great blocker, which is something that gets overlooked with tight ends. He can help in the run game, chip edge rushers and pass pro, do the dirty work that doesn't show up on the stat sheet but is crucial to offensive success. If we want to establish a more consistent run game in 2026, having a tight end who can block like Goddard matters. So now the question is, who's the best fit for us? And honestly, fam, it depends on what Adam Peters and the coaching staff value most. If they want upside and explosiveness, Pitts is your guy. If they want value and potential, Likely is your guy. If they want reliability and experience, Goddard is your guy. My personal take, if we can get Kyle Pitts, do it. No hesitation. That's the home run move. That's the kind of signing that changes the narrative of the offseason. That gets fans hyped. That tells Jaden, we're committed to giving you elite weapons. But if Pitts gets too expensive or stays in Atlanta, or there's a bidding war we don't want to get into, then Likely is my second choice because he's got the highest ceiling of the other two. Goddard would be my third option, but I'm not ruling him out completely because sometimes what you need isn't the flashiest or youngest player, but the most dependable one. The guy you know will be available for 16 or 17 games. The guy you know will do his job without drama. What's clear is this: Adam Peters knows tight end is a need. John Keane reported it, and Keane doesn't throw stuff out there lightly. He's got sources inside the building. When he says the Commanders are targeting this position, you can believe it. It's happening. We're bringing someone in. And honestly, fam, I'm hyped because this is a position that could completely transform our offense if we make the right move. The tight end position in today's NFL is more important than ever. Look at what Travis Kelce does for the Chiefs. Look at what George Kittle does for the Niners. Look at what Mark Andrews does for the Ravens. Those guys are game changers. They're the difference between a good offense and a great one. We need our own version of that, and this offseason is the perfect time to go get it, bro. But hold up, because if you thought that news was big, what's coming next is even crazier. Jaden Daniels just dropped a bombshell about who he wants us to bring in this offseason. And trust me, it's not subtle. This one's got drama, history, personal connection, and the potential to completely reshape our receiving cores. Yo, fam, when your franchise quarterback goes public and basically calls out a specific player he wants on the squad, you listen. Period. No debate. Because your quarterback is the face of the franchise, the one who's going to determine your success or failure for the next 10 to 15 years. And if they're telling you, I want this guy, you at least have to take it seriously. And that's exactly what just happened. Jaden Daniels sat down with Nate Tice from Yahoo Sports for an interview, and bro, he did not hold back. They asked him about free agents he'd like to see in Washington, players he thinks could help this offense. And Jaden said, and I quote, "There's a couple individuals out there. Maybe someone from Arizona State in my past." Arizona State, West Coast. Bro, who do you think he's talking about? This ain't a mystery. It's not some cryptic riddle. He's talking about Brandon Aiyuk. And when Nate Tice, who ain't dumb and clearly knew what was up, followed up with, okay, someone who lives on the West Coast, Jaden smiled. And you can picture that smile that you know exactly who. I mean, smile and said, yeah, definitely people like that out there. I don't want to say too much, but when the time comes, I hope we can bring in those kinds of players. Bro, that's not a hint. That's not subtle. That's basically bring Brandon Aiyuk here now without saying the actual words. Jaden is being as direct as he can without breaking tampering rules or getting fined by the league. And look, this isn't new. This story's got history. We all remember the drama back in the summer of 2024 when Aiyuk was holding out with the Niners, asking for a new deal, and things between him and San Francisco were getting tense. During that time, Aiyuk publicly said that if the Niners didn't pay him, he wanted to play with Jaden Daniels. He literally said that in interviews, on podcasts, on social media. The connection between them was obvious. Eventually, the Niners gave him an extension something like 4 years, $120 million, and it looked like the drama was over. But then came October 2024, and Aiyuk tore his ACL and MCL in a game against the Chiefs. It was one of those injuries that makes your stomach drop when you see it. Non-contact, his knee just gave out, and you knew right away it was serious. Since then, Aiyuk hasn't played. He's been rehabbing, recovering, grinding to get back. But in the meantime, his relationship with the Niners has completely fallen apart. Reports say San Francisco voided over $25 million in guarantees from his contract due to injury clauses and missed performance benchmarks. That's a lot of money, fam. And when a team takes $25 million from you, the trust is gone. That relationship is broken beyond repair. So now we're in a situation where Aiyuk is probably getting released or traded this offseason. The Niners don't want him. He doesn't want them. It's a divorce waiting to happen. And when it does, we'll be right there, waiting with cap space and a quarterback who's already publicly campaigning to bring him in. So should we go get him? That's the million-dollar question, and the answer isn't simple. Because there are a lot of factors to consider. From a chemistry standpoint, it's a no-brainer. Jaden and Aiyuk played together at Arizona State. They've got real history, real chemistry. Years of playing together, practicing together, building trust on and off the field. Jaden knows how Aiyuk runs routes, how he moves, how he thinks, how he reacts to different coverages. That's not something you can teach in training camp. That's a connection that takes years to build. At Arizona State, those two had something special. Aiyuk was the go-to guy, the third down guy, the we need a play right now guy. They won games together. They built timing, rapport, understanding. Bringing that chemistry to the NFL will be huge. From a talent standpoint, Aiyuk is elite when healthy. Before the injury, he was one of the best route runners in the league. Sharp cuts, elite footwork, strong hands, and crazy wide AC ability. He can play outside as a boundary receiver. He can line up in the slot. He can run every route in the tree. He's versatile, dynamic, and dangerous. In 2023, before all the contract drama and the injury, Aiyuk had 75 catches for 1,342 yards and 7 touchdowns. Those are WR1 numbers, bro. That's the kind of production that tells you this guy can be a true number one receiver in the NFL. And putting him next to Terry McLaurin? Lethal. Picture it. Terry on one side, Aiyuk on the other. Defenses can't double both. If you double Terry, Aiyuk eats you alive one-on-one. If you double Aiyuk, Terry goes off. And if you throw Jahan Dotson in the slot or draft another young receiver, bro, that's a receiving corps that can go toe-to-toe with anyone in the NFC. That gives Jaden options, mismatches, and chances to make plays. But, and there's always a but, fam, there are 2 huge factors we can't ignore: health and costs. Let's talk health first. Aiyuk tore both his ACL and MCL. That's not just an ACL tier, which is already serious. That's a CL plus MCL, which means the damage to his knee was extensive. Recovery time for an ACL is usually 9 to 12 months. For a CL plus MCL, you're looking at 12 to 15 months if everything goes perfectly. It's February 2026. Aiyuk got hurt in October 2024. That means it's been about 16 months. In theory, he should be close to full recovery. But the question is, will he be 100%? Will he have the same explosiveness? Will he trust that knee when he cuts, plants, accelerates? Those are real questions Adam Peters and the medical staff need to answer before making any move. Because we can't drop big money on a guy if we're not sure he'll be ready for week 1. or if he'll ever be the same player again. History tells us some players come back from a CL tears and look exactly the same. Adrian Peterson did it. Jamal Charles did it. But others never get back to that level. They lose a step. They lose confidence. They're just not the same dot with Aiyuk. The risk is real. And as a front office, you've got to weigh that risk against the potential reward. Now let's talk costs. Aiyuk's current deal with the Niners is big. If they cut him, he's gonna want another big contract. Probably somewhere in the 15 to 20 million per year range. Because even with the injury, he still sees himself as a WR1. And honestly, if he's healthy, he's probably right. But how much are we willing to pay for a wide receiver coming off a major knee injury? Because even though we've got cap space, and we've got plenty, we also have to think about re-signing our own guys in contract years, bringing in defensive help, which we desperately need, and building depth at other spots like O-line, linebacker, and secondary dot. If we drop $18 million a year on Aiyuk, that's $18 million we can't spend on an edge rusher or a corner or a defensive tackle. Opportunity cost is real, fam. Every dollar you spend on one player is a dollar you can't spend somewhere else. Here's my take, and I'm trying to be as honest and balanced as possible. Adam Peters needs to do his full due diligence. Bring Aiyuk in for a full physical. Get the best doctors, the best specialists. Review the Niners' medical reports. Talk to the trainers who've worked with him during rehab. Get every piece of info possible about that knee. If the doctors say he'll be 100% by training camp, no red flags, structurally sound, and if the price is reasonable, something like a 2-year, $30 to $35 million deal with incentives based on games played and performance, then do it. Give Jaden what he wants. Give this offense the boost it needs. Take the calculated risk, but if there's any doubt about his health, any concern he won't be ready, any sign that the knee isn't right, then don't. We can't afford another Jahan Dotson situation where we spend resources, draft capital, or cap space on a guy who doesn't produce at the level we need dot. And if Aiyuk is asking for a fully guaranteed mega deal like 4 years, $80 million fully guaranteed then, it's also a no. That kind of commitment for a player coming off a major injury is just too risky, no matter how talented he is. What I do know is this. Jaden Daniels wants Brandon Aiyuk. He's made that clear. He's publicly campaigning for him. And when your franchise quarterback, the guy who's going to be the face of your team for the next decade plus, the guy you've invested everything in tells you, I want this player, you at least take it seriously. Because keeping Jaden happy is part of the long-term success plan. If he feels like the front office is doing everything it can to give him weapons, to give him the tools to succeed, that builds trust. And trust between the QB and the front office is everything. Look at what happened in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers when he felt like the front office wasn't supporting him. Look at the drama, the resentment, the eventual trade. We don't want that with Jaden Dot. So yeah, fam, I'm open to the idea of Brandon Aiyuk. I'm intrigued. I'm interested. But it's gotta be smart. It's gotta be calculated. It's gotta make sense from a health, cost, and long-term team-building standpoint. We can't get caught up in the emotion, the nostalgia of the Arizona State connection, or just because Jaden wants him. Business decisions have to be made with your head, not just your heart. And I trust Adam Peters gets that. He's shown. He's thoughtful, strategic, not someone who makes panic moves. If he brings in Aiyuk, it'll be because he did his homework and feels confident. And if he doesn't, it'll be because the risks outweighed the rewards. Either way, this is a storyline we're going to be watching closely all offseason because it involves our franchise QB, a potential game-changing receiver, and decisions that are going to shape the future of this team. Yo, fam, after watching Super Bowl 60 between the Rams and the Chiefs a few days ago, one thing became crystal clear to anyone paying attention. Defense wins championships. That game was a straight-up defensive slugfest. Both offenses, who have been lighting it up all season long, got completely shut down on the biggest stage. Patrick Mahomes, arguably the best quarterback on the planet right now, struggled. Matthew Stafford, with an arm that can make every throw in the book, struggled. The explosive plays we saw all year just weren't there. Why? Because both defenses were playing out of their minds. Constant pressure, tight coverage, gap discipline in the run game, solid tackling. That's what won that game. And in the end, the team that got more stops, forced more punts, and created more negative plays, that's the team that lifted the Lombardi Trophy. That's not a coincidence, bro. That's football 101. That's a truth that's been around since this game was invented. And it got me thinking, when was the last time Dewey had a dominant defense? When was the last time the Washington Commanders, or Redskins, depending on the era, struck real fear into opposing offenses? When was the last time quarterbacks woke up on game day with anxiety because they knew they were facing our defense? The answer, fam? 1990-1. According to an ESPN article that ranked all 60 Super Bowl champions using advanced metrics and DVOA, defense-adjusted value over average, the 1991 Washington team is the greatest team of all time. Number 1. That squad finished with a 17-2 record. 17 wins, 2 losses. Led the league in points, scored 485. Total, averaging over 30 per game, and was second in points allowed. Giving up just 224 all season, about 14 per game. Those numbers are insane, bro. That's video game stuff. They only lost 2 games all year, and both those had asterisks. The first was against the Cowboys by a field goal after starting 11-0. At that point, they were already thinking playoffs, managing health, and Dallas caught them slipping. The second loss was to the Eagles in the final week of the regular season, when the coaching staff rested the starters in the second half because the number 1 seed was already locked up. They lost by 2, but nobody in that locker room was sweating it. They knew the real season was about to start. But here's what really separates that team from the rest. It's the ONLY team in NFL history since DVOA tracking started in 1978. To rank in the top 60 in offense, defense, and special teams all at once. They were 53rd in offensive DVOA, 39th in defensive DVOA, and 18th in special teams DVOA. That's perfect balance, fam. That's excellence in every phase of the game. Most championship teams are elite in 1 or 2 areas. Maybe they've got a top-tier offense, but an average defense. Or they've got a lockdown defense, but a shaky offense. But the 91 team? No. Well, if we can just survive this part of the game? Nah. They dominated on offense, defense, and special teams. And when the playoffs came around, bro, it was a masterclass in domination. First, they faced the Atlanta Falcons in the divisional round. The Falcons were the 8th seed, barely made the playoffs, and were probably just happy to be there. Washington crushed them 24-7, and honestly, the score doesn't even show how lopsided it was. Washington controlled the clock, controlled the line of scrimmage, and never let Atlanta get into any kind of rhythm. Then came the NFC Championship game against the Detroit Lions. The Lions had gone 12-4, pulled off some upsets, and had a little hype behind them. That hype lasted exactly 1 quarter. Washington steamrolled them 41-10. 41-10 in a conference championship game. That's embarrassing for Detroit, and a loud statement to the rest of the league. Washington was on a different level. And then came Super Bowl 26 against the Buffalo Bills. The Bills were a great team. They had Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, Andre Reed, Bruce Smith. They'd been to the Super Bowl the year before. They knew what it took to compete on that stage. Didn't matter. Washington dominated. By the middle of the 4th quarter, Washington was up 37-10. 37-10 in the Super Bowl. The game was over. The Bills scored 2 late touchdowns, one after a successful onside kick, to make the final score 37-24. But that was garbage time. That was, let's make this look a little more respectable time. The truth is, Washington controlled that game from start to finish. And the key, the foundation of all that success, was the defense. Yeah, the offense with Mark Rippey and Art. Monk, Gary Clark, and Ernest Biner was productive. But the defense was the identity of that team. That defense had pass rushers who could get after the quarterback, linebackers who could stop the run and drop into coverage, defensive backs who could play man, play zone, and make plays on the ball. They had versatility, depth, coaching, and a mentality of nobody scores on us. And that mentality, that attitude, that culture, that's what we need to bring back in 2020-6. Because here's the reality, fam, our offense with Jaden Daniels has the potential to be elite. Jaden showed flashes in his rookie year that he can be special. He's got the arm talent, the mobility, the football IQ, the leadership. If we give him weapons, like we talked about with the tight end situation, and maybe Brandon Aiyuk, if we give him a solid offensive line, if we give him a good run game, this offense can score with anybody. But if our defense stays mediocre, if we keep giving up 28 to 30 points a game, if we can't get off the field on third down, if we can't create turnovers, we're not going anywhere. Doesn't matter how good your quarterback is. If your defense can't make stops, you're not winning championships. The Super Bowl we just watched proved that again. The Rams won because their defense balled out. The Chiefs lost because their defense, even though it was solid all year, couldn't make enough plays when it mattered most. That's the difference between winning and losing at the highest level. Adam Peters already made changes to the coaching staff. We've got a new defensive coordinator with fresh ideas, new schemes, new energy. But now we need players. We need talent. We need dudes who can execute those schemes. We need edge rushers who can consistently get after the quarterback, not just on obvious passing downs, but on any down. Guys who can win one-on-ones, bend the edge, and finish sacks. It forces bad throws, misreads, sacks, turnovers. We need cornerbacks who can lock down receivers in man coverage. In today's NFL, if you can't play man, you're toast. Offenses are too good, quarterbacks are too accurate, receivers are too fast. You need corners who can run with guys, mirror routes, and make plays on the ball. And right now, outside of maybe one or two guys on our roster, we don't have that dot. We need linebackers who can stop the run and drop into coverage. The modern NFL linebacker has to be versatile, has to be able to fill gaps in the run game, but also cover tight ends and running backs in the passing game, make open field tackles, read quarterbacks, and jump routes. Good safety play makes everything else on defense work better. And here's the good news. We've got the resources to make this happen. We've got cap space. We've got draft picks, including potentially some high ones if we make trades. We've got a front office led by Adam Peters, who's shown he knows how to evaluate talent, find value, and build rosters. But it has to be a priority. We can't spend all our money on offense and hope the defense figures itself out. We can't. Draft only offensive players and expect the defense to magically improve. There has to be intentionality. There has to be investment. There has to be commitment to building a defense that can compete. I want to see the 2026 Commanders play with that 1991 mentality. I want to see a defense that puts fear in opposing offenses. I want to see offensive. Coordinators losing sleep the night before they play us because they don't know how they're going to move the ball. I want to see quarterbacks getting hit, getting pressured, getting uncomfortable. That's how you build dynasties, fam. That's what separates contenders from pretenders. You can have the best quarterback in the world, but if your defense is trash, you're not winning anything meaningful. The '91 Redskins understood that. They built a defense that complemented their offense. A defense that could win games when the offense struggled. A defense that had an identity, a culture, a standard. I hope the 2026 Commanders take inspiration from that. I hope Adam Peters and the coaching staff look back at that team and say, that's what we want to be. Because if we can recapture even a fraction of that dominance, if we can build a defense that ranks top 10 in the league, paired with an offense led by Jaden Daniels and surrounded by weapons, bro, we're talking about a team that can make real noise in the NFC. So yeah, while everyone's talking about Brandon Aiyuk and Kyle Pitts and offensive weapons, which are important, don't get me wrong, I'm also thinking, which edge rusher are we signing in free agency? Which corner are we drafting in the first round? How are we addressing linebacker? How are we improving our defensive line depth? Because if we want to truly compete, if we want to be a legit Super Bowl contender, we need both sides of the ball. Offense and defense. Balance. Just like the 1991 team had. All right, fam, that's it for today. 3 stories, 3 massive topics that are going to shape the future of this franchise. We're bringing in a new tight end. Goodbye, Ertz. Thanks for everything, but it's time to get younger and faster. Jaden wants Brandon Aiyuk, and so do I if the price and health check out. And we need to take a page from the most dominant team in franchise history, the 1991 Redskins, and build a real defense. This offseason is crucial. No exaggeration. The decisions Adam Peters and the coaching staff make over the next few months will determine whether we're contenders or stuck in mediocrity for more years. Peters has the tools. He's got the cap space, a lot of it. He's got the draft picks. He's got the coaching staff. Now it's about execution. And honestly, fam, I've got faith. Yeah, the 2025 season was disappointing. Yeah, we finished with a losing record. Yeah, there was frustration, pain, moments where we wanted to turn the TV off. But we also saw growth from Jaden. We saw flashes of what this team can be. We saw that we've got pieces to build around. The foundation is there. Now we need to add to it. We need to develop our young players. We need to stay healthy. We need a little bit of luck too. Because in the NFL, 2026 could be special. I'm not saying we're winning the Super Bowl, though, man, wouldn't that be amazing? But I'm saying we can be competitive. We can make the playoffs. We can be a team nobody wants to face. Bro, if you made it this far, first of all, thank you for sticking with me. For real. I know this was a long video. I know we covered a lot. But these stories matter and they deserve the deep dive. Second, drop a like if you enjoyed the content. It helps a lot with the algorithm and lets me know this kind of detailed analysis is what you want to see. Third, subscribe if you haven't already. We're going to be covering every move, every rumor, every development this offseason. You don't want to miss a thing. And fourth, let me know in the comments. Do you want Kyle Pitts, Isaiah Likely, or Dallas Goedert as our new tight end? Are you bringing in Brandon Aiyuk or not? And what's your number 1 priority on defense this offseason? I want to hear from you, fam. This is a conversation, not a monologue. I'll see you tomorrow with more news, more analysis, more hype, more everything. Because the offseason never stops for Commanders Nation. We stay locked in. We stay ready. We stay hungry. Commanders Nation, let's get it.